All right,
God Emperor better be around.
some of y'all need the God Emperor, or any of his currently living sons. I almost said Sanguinius at the same time, and then I realized no, Sanguinius would not have worked. He is no longer among
Sanguinius is
living.
very dead.
Yeah, noble sacrifices be that way. I am Omar Krieg, and I say welcome, sirs, and other appropriate monikers and titles of address. Welcome back to the Krieg Dominion. I don't have anything in front of me. As we all know, if I'm not reading notes, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Welcome back to the Krieg Dominion. I am, of course, the Lord and Commander of the Krieg Dominion, and your host for this, the fourth episode of Segmentum 2 of Scepters and Crowns of our Rogue Trader RPG campaign entitled Tithes of Acheron. There's a lot of numbers, a lot of titles, but who cares? I'm the Game Master, and I have my usual sorted mess, mix, that's the word, mix of players. Let's take a moment, check in with them, see what's new and exciting. Hopefully they are far more better word choice. Jesus Christ, Rev, help me out here. What's new and exciting for you?
My vernacular is far more extensive than yours. Thank you very much.
Hold on, it's not my vernacular, it's my use of. Anyway, please, what's new and exciting?
Well, I have a foot injury that ironically was not sustained during my hour at the gym. It was not sustained during my 30-minute walk around the entirety of Walmart because they're completely rearranging my store thereafter. No, it was in the stop and go driving and following that. And so, because I'm picking up my mother because she's working late and she does not like to drive particularly very much after dark. I have my foot wrapped in an ace bandage with a sandal slipped over it so that I can still manage to operate the gas pedal without being in too much pain. Because shoes are not my friends right now. And I'm obviously on this call or I'm on this Zoom from a cell phone.
Right on.
If I'm mysteriously mute, I've either been in an accident or I've muted in order to talk with someone who's not a part of the game.
Absolutely dead.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he was going with that. I lost something there, but we'll come back when it's appropriate. Darius, what's new and exciting for you, my friend?
Getting ready for Antler, Ohio, which I mentioned last week, I believe.
Last 2 weeks, I think, 3 weeks. I'm not making a point of it or anything. I feel like it's about that many times. Arturios, you disconnected.
You did?
Yeah.
From the table.
My internet's not doing too hot right now.
Sorry, go ahead, Darius.
And then yesterday I actually got to play in a D&D game that has been on hiatus for a while.
Nice. Resuming the games.
Yes. So that was good.
Indeed. All right. Arturios, what do you got for us? What's new and exciting for you besides your internet being, judgmental AF?
Just I got a stomach bug. It's been bothering me all fucking day. So if I disappear, yeah.
Okay. Listen, I mean, at this point, I'm almost concerned about whether or not we're gonna have a full stream.
It's a game of invalids. Screw Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Did I mention I also have a sinus headache due to severe allergies?
I mean, you are in the South, so I guess that. Well, not everybody knows you're in the South, or not everybody knows enough to put two and two
together. Stop doxing me!
Wow. I guess when you mention an entire friggin' ass region of the country,
a big old even if we honed in on the state, good luck finding you from just that.
Yeah.
Well, howdy now, who would have known I'm from the South?
Man, you sound like you're from Boston.
Northeast at least, definitely.
Northeast at least.
You like Degs?
Don't conflate Congratulate me with a Yankee.
God. See what you did, Alterios? I'm totally blaming you.
Do it.
Alterios,
I was conflating him with a pikey.
Alterios, you have
Would you
anything else,
rather
or
be
shall I
called a
move on to
cracker?
Warner?
What?
Don't even know what I just said. What'd you say, Darius?
I'll just keep it safe and say yes.
And to answer your question, I consider that to be about the white person equivalent of the N-word. So just very politely, please don't say that again.
Okay.
What did I miss? What? I don't. You know what? I don't even want to know. We're gonna move on. Warner.
Hi.
He called me if you're describing a product, he called me the word that comes after Ritz. I'd like to have some. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
There are those things. Anywho's. New and exciting for me. Guess that the most exciting thing in my life recently was the other day I had a fantastic match of MWO in which I did over 1,200 damage,
That's impressive.
killed 4 people. One of them was a top compy, and I felt very, very proud of myself.
Well
Nice.
done. Well done.
It was totally a fluke. I am not better than competitive player, but I'll take it.
Well, you know, the thing I've always realized too is there's a lot of people, and speaking, of course, as someone who used to play MWO almost religiously, there are people that are clearly really good at the game, and they're in a competitive team, leagues, etc., and that's great. Don't get me wrong, but you know what? No matter how good you are, you could still have a shit day and get taken out by a scrub like me because you were in the wrong place and I was at the right place at the right time. You know, and not to take away the fact that you take down somebody that's ranked 57 ranks above you, it's always a good day. It doesn't matter how or why or what. You take down somebody that's much higher up than you, it's always a good thing. So I'm not trying to take anything necessarily away from you, Warner, because fuck it, you got to kill. A kill's a kill, my friend.
Are you familiar with the Jarl's list?
I am not.
That is the it's the EP measuring tool for Mech Warrior players.
Okay.
And according to the Jarl's list, I am an 86th percentile player, so I'm in the top 15% of players in the game.
Nice.
The guy that I killed is in the top 2% of players in the game.
And my understanding of those sorts of things is usually that's a pretty wide gap.
Yeah, that's a very wide gap.
Yeah, which is weird because like going from say 90 to 85 is not nearly as wide, but the numbers suggest otherwise. But yeah,
I'm somewhere on the bottom.
I have no idea. I doubt that I'm even on the list because I haven't played MechWarrior Online in literally years at this point. I think the last time I played was 2019, maybe 2020. So, but that's also because I just got tired of the same old shit. Just
looks like your last season was February 21.
Of MechWarrior Online?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know when I was last in? Oh, you probably
It's the Jarl's list. I've got the tool.
And where? Just out of curiosity, where am I ranked? 99 of 100.
Your current rank is retired.
That's fair. That's fair.
But it looks like you were hovering between the 40th and 50th percentile for most of it.
That sounds about right for me. About right in the middle of being useless. You know, the guy that you don't mind having on either on your left or right because he's also just as likely to take a bullet for you than you are to take a bullet for him. That's what I'm good at, filling out the role. That's my job. All right, let me go ahead and kick this off because I totally did not forget to actually open my notes before we started. I absolutely had my notes open this whole time. Previously on Tithes of Acheron of Scepters and Crowns, the Acheron's ferry and crew have returned from their expedition to recover what might remain of the lost treasure ship, the Righteous Path, and in so doing, stumbled across an allegedly ancient alien artifact of unknown type and purpose. Now, with deals regarding said artifact closed and business completed for the time being at Footfall, the ship and crew head towards the Van Breeze domain, investigating, among other things, the cause of the silence at the domain's astropathic relay station around Acheron. To get there, however, the crew needs to take a brief pit stop at Repton 4, a world known only for swamps and forests, and not much else so far. And then there was that bit about a dream shared by many of the crew and command staff. And I'm going to go through the dream again, partially to remind you all, but maybe you had it once or twice, not just once, since setting out from Footfall. And it goes a little something like this. Black. Absolute black. Devoid of light. Then a single flicker, there for a second and then gone for what feels like hours. The sounds of heavy breathing, exertion, a heartbeat, but one that is arrhythmic to any heartbeat you have ever heard. 5 beats to the whole, not 4. An offbeat except for the whole sequence itself. Then another light, flickering, dull at first, then bright, then searing, blinding, then fading, waning. Depleted, it falls to the dark. Then another light, high above, as though it were the sun, but the light it casts is gray, cold, distant. A tower can be seen overhead, can be seen ahead now. A mighty spire above rock and dirt, reaching into a gray heaven. Heaven, my God, I know how to read, I promise I do. A mighty flame above the tower. Not a flame as it flickers, but an eye, turning slowly towards you. And then the lights fade more. Blackness, swallowing, all-encompassing, until there is naught but the eye above, and a million and more lesser eyes watching you from every possible angle. We have always been, and always will. A cold voice and tones, then loud, deafening, and repeating, fading as the light fades too, until finally you see the 4 walls around you that comprise your quarters on the ship. So, that said, you did make it to Repton 4. Let me switch this over to the live view. We have our ships up here floating in space around Repton 4. Let's reposition that slightly. You're not in orbit around the planet, so you're in the outer system, so it's pretty much up to you what you want to do and how much snooping around you want to do, or if you want to just do the absolute bare minimum of come out of the warp, do whatever you have to do, and then head back into the warp again. And this is kind of a question for y'all to figure out what you want to do here. There's nothing specifically saying you have to go to Repton, the planet, of which I want to remind you, actually. There are 3 or 4 planets here. We have a bright white burning star at the center of the system. Repton Pyrus is the innermost planet, basically just a burnt up husk of a world. Then we have Repton Temporalis, a small world, no moons or other objects. Does appear to have a thin but highly corrosive atmosphere and very hot temperatures. Not quite as hot as Repton Pyrus, but still plenty scorchy. And then we have Repton Primus, which is the main world. This is the world of swamps and forests. It is a cold world, but not a frozen, icy world. There are indicators of some native lower-level forms of life, insects, lizards, etc. Yeah, other than that, there's really doesn't seem to be much at present making this planet noteworthy. What is the crew of the Acheron's Ferry looking at doing now?
Remind me, which world was it that we had the weirdness about with the astropath relay or whatever it is going quiet?
That is Acheron, which is right here.
Okay. So maybe since this is a world that is relatively close to it, maybe we'd want to inquire if they've heard anything out of Acheron lately.
There is no active civilization. There are no active communication
Right.
signals. Nothing to indicate that there is any intelligent life here.
Okay.
This is almost entirely a pit stop. But as we all know, many worlds across the Imperium and beyond once upon a time held life or other things previous to the current era.
And there are no signals coming from the main world.
Correct. Nothing to indicate civilization, nothing to indicate anything of import here. I.e.,
Is there any,
if you want
is
to
there
do
any signs that there was anything here at any point? Like,
let me see what my notes say, 'cause I don't always remember everything in my own notes. Let's see. You are pretty far out in the system, out near the system's edge. So you're not getting a lot of good, like, I don't want to say feedback, but like getting good reads on sensor data. Marcellus Thale at some point mentions that, that there were many old ancient empires and kingdoms and things like that carved out of the stars. It's entirely possible there may have been some sort of civilization's presence here in the past. Nothing indicates that there certainly is now, but there's also nothing that specifically states there is not either. In other words, even the Van Breeze ships haven't really done much more than pass through here. So nobody has actually done like a full, to use Star Trek terminology, nobody's done like a full survey scan of this system.
Mm-hmm.
so there might be stuff on the worlds, but just too primitive to make signals that we get.
Correct. There could be any number of things that just are not being picked up this far out.
Gotcha.
The things that you would normally expect that are associated with higher advanced civilizations like yours or the Eldar or whatever, or even the Orcs for that, you're not picking up any of them. And again,
Well, if it's not smart enough to be a tier 2 civilization, I don't care about it.
all right, Kardashev, calm down. I think that's the right name.
I mean, if there's no known reason to stop, but also typically in a above table in a game like this, you typically don't stop someplace unless the GM wants you to sit.
Well, my thought process is this, and this is strictly, above board or whatever, is that you don't have on one hand, you didn't have charts leading you directly to Achelos or anywhere else in the domain, so you had to make this pit stop in the first place. There's not even a service station, for lack of a better thing to call it. So Thale would probably explain that a lot of the ships passing through here would just stop here, do the minimum maintenance required between warp jumps before setting off again, and then literally just set off again. So probably spend
Depending
no more
on
but
how paranoid we are, we might want to at least have a look about on the ship's scanners before we, head onwards.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how Lord handles something like that. There are rules within how to do the warp travel that if you don't know the way, you can easily go from here to there. But traditionally, ships don't go for more than a few months at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that they would spend like a couple of days, a day or two of maintenance in real space before moving back into the warp again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my interpretation.
Doing the
of it.
maintenance stuff sounds wise. Obviously, not doing maintenance before you go back into the warp is asking for trouble.
Yeah. And you do have
I was
charts.
just thinking, if we don't know what else is out here, and presumably the Fell dynasty is aware of the Van Breeze dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like there's a huge secret over where the Van Breezes, center their power or whatnot.
Yeah, and I think it would be on the same scale as the Winter Scale realm, which is an entire section of the Koronus Expanse where, the House Winter Scale actually controls that space, but nobody really interacts with them outside of like standard Imperial type business, trade, and stuff like that. It's kind of the same thing for Van Bree's domain. Is there's interaction, there's trade, movement, and things of that nature, but beyond that, there's still the wild open space of God knows what in the rest of the Expanse that
Yep.
hasn't been yet tamed. Think of like the Wild Wild West, where there's civilization and there's influence of civilization out to a certain point, and everything beyond that is God knows what. And it's not always a uniform sort of thing across the map. So Darius is fun. So
I'm sorry.
funny. Listen, I'm not mad at you. I'm just like, I'm just watching
I'm
his
still
head
listening.
drooping. I know. I know the feeling. So again, like I said, what I expect here is either you guys can go into the system and check things out further, or you could just do maintenance for a day or two and then head back out again. No big deal. And I will tell you that strictly from a out of character standpoint, there is no aha, got you because I didn't let you stand here or land here. Like aha, big secret you missed. Ha ha ha. No, like it's
Okay.
There's things you can do if you choose to, and there's things you can just ignore if you choose to. If there was a major plot reason for you guys to go to this planet, it would have been something more compelling than, and you show up at the outer edge of the system with nothing better to do than to figure out what you want to do next.
I think we should go
Well,
directly
you have
to
locked yourself out of the good
Acheron.
ending.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, oh, there goes the good guy ending.
What was that, Darius?
I think we should just go directly to Acheron.
Yeah. I think so too. We have a reason to be investigating what happened at Acheron.
Yeah.
And so, do whatever it takes to get ready to head there.
Any objections from the commander?
If you can hear me now.
Yes.
Excuse me. Yes, I can hear you. I had to get that burp out of first, though. Well, we heard him for a second, and now I'm not sure what he's doing.
What I was doing was not saying anything.
Oh, I apologize. All right. The consensus I'm getting is do maintenance for a day or two, and then head back into the warp. Does that read correctly for everybody? I just want to confirm before I do the next thing.
Pretty much.
Okay. Alterios, give me tech use. It's my favorite thing to make you do.
What do you gotta do is, man?
You've got your tech use rock or whatever it was. I forget what you called it. No, it doesn't matter. You obviously succeeded. So yeah, you easily accomplish without any concerns or hiccups your maintenance tasks of pre warp transit post warp transit, and you may now enter the warp. So we are now heading to Achelos, or whatever I decide to call it, because I can't seem to keep my thoughts straight. Get my notes for warpiness. All right, when the players are ready, it's time to depart Repton 4 for Achelos. Navigator attempts challenging Cynicians test with plus 20 bonus for detailed charts on hand. Cynicians is... I never remember this. You'd think I'd remember by now. 49, I need a 69. $66. Success. All right.
Okay.
Let's see. Where am I? If it's successful, roll once on the thingy. So I need to open not that one. Nope, I don't need to roll on that because I already know that. Okay, so not rolling on that. Let's see. All right, we're good there. Stage 2, translation. Warding of ill tidings. House Van Bree's pre-warp rituals and traditions must be observed at the discretion of the Lord Captain. I don't see why we would
we would do
them.
that.
Yep. So, crew morale. Somebody make a roll. If you roll 100, then something happens. If not, you're good. It's literally a 1 in 100 chance.
The roll is away.
The roll is good. Okay.
Yay.
All right, now I need everybody's favorite roll to make, the willpower test with modifiers as following. Lord Captain, plus 20. Icarus, plus 20. Reinhardt and Jace, both plus 30. Plus any other modifiers you might have for random reasons. Somebody just killed it with an 11. Lord, that rogue trader's willpower is unbreakable. All right, who's next?
We'll find out.
See Warner just zips in. Woo! Oh dear, I'm getting scared. Somebody's gonna
Hell
have a really
yeah.
shitty roll now. We had an 11 and then we had an 8. Icarus, go ahead. Oh no, Darius or Jace is making his roll, and he gets a 77. I think that's gonna be our first fate point use of the night.
Nope.
Oh, no,
That's
you-
a success.
Oh, wow, success on a 77. Okay, Icarus, show us what the
That's right,
Messiah
you've got
says.
the plus 30.
Ouch.
85. Is that our
I'll,
first fate point use of the night, or are
yeah,
you gonna?
it will be.
Okay,
There you
That's
go.
fine.
there you go. 39. All right. Navigator now makes a routine Cynicians test. They will. Oh, actually, you know what? Hold on. Give me a second. Let me refer to my notes and things. Did I determine? Yeah, okay, I got it. All right. So yeah, plus 20, another plus 20 Cynicians. Okay, so 69 again to see if I can find the Astronomicon. Damn, she found it and she pegged it from a million light years away. Let's see. Succeeds plus 10 bonus on nav warp test for the remainder of the journey, so that'll be a plus 30 for warp travel navigation. And now I roll navigation warp plus. Oh my god, do I even need to roll? I just need to.
You might get that 100.
Yeah, just that's all. That's really all I'm rolling for is to not get a 100.
Do it.
Okay, well
There you go.
I just got our travel time reduced by 1/4. I'm gonna verify that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's about to be.
Whoop.
So, let's see. Order table 2-4. 2-4 says. So I rolled a 20 effectively against something like a 99. So that is, yeah, 1/4 of the duration, which means our current estimates say, yeah. Let me make that slightly larger. We only have one of those to worry about. 7 days in the warp. Or less than that, actually. Let me think. Yeah, we're actually going to spend about 4 days in the warp. So let me update some notes really quick. Let's see. M1.
It's quiet.
I know. I'm sorry. I had to update some notes.
Too quiet.
All right. So we have one potential encounter to deal with. So somebody give me 2 1d100 rolls, and let me get to the right page in the books. Right there. Okay. All right. Chris with his spastic hands. 41, Stasis. 66, Warp Storm. Both of them are physical encounters. Stasis. If the navigator cannot guide the ship to evade the encounter, the ship becomes stuck in a warp rift before drifting free, adding 1d5 days to the journey's duration, which would produce a single additional warp encounter test or check. Warp Storm, we all know about that one. Let's see. If the ship's gather field is fully operational, GM rolls 1d10 twice and chooses the lower result for the ship critical hits location. Our gather field is presently good. That's also assuming that we don't evade the thing. So they're both physical. So let me just go ahead and grab my navigation warp stat, which is 52 plus 20 for some reason. The Navis Primer or something like that. And then plus 10 for bonuses. It's going to be 82. Oh, wait. I did that wrong, I think. Let me see what we got. Navigator can attempt to avoid. Oh, first I need to make it an ordinary Cynicians. So that's plus 10. So that's going to be 49, 59. I rolled a 6, so we're good there. So now I need to make another don't roll 100 to get around the thing. We got around well, I know the path around the thing. I just need to convey the directions easily and understandably to Jace, who now needs to make a piloting plus 10. Piloting plus 10 plus whatever other thingies you've got, which I think you have at least another 10 from your almanac or something like that. Not almanac, it's a sextant.
It's piloting plus 10 from my training, and plus 10 from the almanac.
Yep, plus 30. And then 40 if you want to throw a fate point in for some crazy reason.
Agility 55,
You're like
85.
You've got a pretty good number right there.
Yeah, I think I'll just roll the 85.
All right.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
I haven't heard that line in a long time. 36. We made it.
Yep.
All right. We skirt around whatever that physical encounter was going to be that we didn't really decide because it was a pretty good chance that we were not going to hit it.
Because F that noise.
And, yeah. Let me go ahead and get that out of there. Scoot these ships right up to here. And tell you what happens when you arrive at Acheron. Alright. Let's see. Some notes about the Acheron system as you arrive. Acheron is, let's see. Oh, did I not mark what the star is? What color's the star on the map there? White. You got a burning white star. You also have, there is a stellar anomaly that you would have known about. The navigator would have been talking about it. The star charts, etc., would have expressly noted this. Effectively, what it means in game terms is that you check for warp encounters every 7 days instead of 5 while traveling to or from Acheron. We didn't have any doubles in the warp navigation type stuff. That's a good thing, because had there been something would have happened. I won't go into that because it didn't come up. All right, the inner system consists of either asteroid clusters or dust clouds. Nothing of significance to be noted in the innermost parts of the system. These asteroids have long been exploited for any possible resources and are now effectively barren. Acheron is the only planet in the primary biosphere, or what would otherwise be considered the habitable zone or Goldilocks zone, and as there is nothing in the system's outer reaches either, it is the only body of any major note in the entire system. So basically a bunch of dust and crap in the innermost part, and then the planet and nothing else.
Does that match our records?
Correct. Well, I'm getting there. There's more information that you'll be picking up here as you're progressing closer and closer to the planet. Let's see. Acheron is a large, dense world with normal gravity, moderate atmospheric pressure, and a pure, clean atmosphere safe for human habitation. The planet is encircled by a lesser moon. a standard sized moon, and a large asteroid. So basically 2 moons and a big chunk of rock. It's also orbited by your astropathic relay station. I'll get to that shortly. Acheron is an ice world that does sport liquid water in trapped underground areas or near thermal vents. Roughly 80% or more of the surface ice on the planet is water-based, but requires heavy filtration and purification before being safe for human or animal consumption, outside of those animals native to this world, of course. Acheron is a single large landmass with several territories ranging from polar mountain chains to equatorial plains, and some variation, but not much, between. There will be, if you find yourself on the surface of the planet, there will be some modifiers to survival tests based on the cold. Let's see. There's a few notable features. I'm not going to go into those right now unless we do end up coming down to the planet. And then lastly, of note, the Acheron Void Station. There is a space station floating around the planet. It is a roughly Y-shaped structure with a football-shaped central spire section. I did not come up with a drawing. I thought I was going to, and I never did. So, sorry. You're just going to have to imagine a football with 3 spokes coming off of it in the shape of roughly a Y. One section of these Y legs is used to receive guests of note, or VIPs. Another section is used as a service port. This is where like supply vessels and cargo ships and stuff like that would land to either offload or upload cargo and passengers. And then finally, the third section is used to serve as the administrative and command and control for the station proper. And this is also where the local administratum and mechanicus command centers, security details, and the local small marine contingent barracks would be. The central football-shaped section houses the astropathic choir, associated facilities, as well as primary power production and waste management and the orbital control infrastructure. So, like, basically, the station has various little RCS thruster cluster type deals to keep, every now and again it has to burn a little bit to maintain its orbital situation. Speaking of which, however, I need a tech use -10 from anybody able to observe the station through your scanners as you approach.
Tech use -10.
Correct. And for clarity's sake, this is to interpret the data your ship's scanners are picking up in regards to the station. This could be Jace or Icarus making this roll. I'm indifferent because I assume
I think Icarus has a higher tech use.
I think he does.
Okay.
But I don't know.
-10?
Yeah, tech use -10. And your tech use rock doesn't help. Doesn't help because that only applies for your ship.
I do have a combo tool and a utility mechadendra, which both give me +10, so it's a +10
But is
overall.
that useful? Because the purpose of this roll is to interpret the information you're receiving from your scanner, your auger arrays, or whatever they're called. Basically, your sensor readouts. So I don't know.
Well, I'll just use a fate point then and make it an
absolutely
even roll.
can use your second fate point of the evening. It looks like a success. 13, yes. So 2 things. One that you didn't need to make the roll for, but these 2 go hand in hand. So I'll start there. As you are making your way into the station, you are capable of and probably have sent hailing frequencies open type messages, but you are not receiving anything in response. Nobody is challenging you as you approach. The thing that you need to make a roll for, however, is that in addition to this station being incredibly silent, 1, power is running. The station does have power, but it is in a low power mode, and more disturbing, the Void Station's orbit has deteriorated and will soon be entering the planet's atmosphere sometime in the next several hours.
Oh boy.
Oh, we got a
I want
Internet
that to be a
installation thing going.
clue without me saying it's a clue, despite I just
Yes.
said it's a clue.
Yes. Well, if it's only got a couple of hours, then that in and of itself is a clue.
Correct. Whether
So
or
we
not
should
you
probably
correctly
do some
interpret that clue,
investigation.
whether or not you do the interpret correct interpretation of the clue. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway,
Can
please.
we use the ships to as like tugs to slow down the orbital decay and give us more time?
You can. It's not what your ships are intended to do, but you certainly can. I think between Jace, Marcellus Dale, and anybody else that has extensive ship and space service experience would know that it is possible to get to the station, and assuming everything is working correctly or can be fixed in time if it's not working correctly, you can correct that station's orbit from the station itself. Power
Okay.
is available. It appears to be in a low power mode, so you just have to go on and basically turn all the lights on, and now you have full power, and now you should be able to correct the orbit. You can, if you choose to, for some crazy reason, just be like, let's throw anchor chains around it and lasso the station up into a higher orbit. I don't know what kind of rolls I would need for that, but there's going to be at least 2 or 3.
I'll leave that one up to y'all, because that was sort of just a shot like, hey, we buy more time.
You
Maybe.
absolutely can. And when I say that you have something like several hours to work with, that includes the time it would take for you to well, the Acheron's ferry is probably too big to dock directly to the station, but certainly
We'd
get
send
a
out some
landing
sort of
team.
shuttle and
Yeah.
do some boarding.
Yep. And so basically, like, once you touch down, you've got about 4 or 5 hours before it starts getting turbulent. And I don't mean that as a joke, but like that's when the atmospheric interface gets to the point of it producing turbulence.
Yeah.
Bing bong. This is your station manager. We are currently entering the atmosphere. We're all gonna die.
You did that so well, Chris. Yeah, you. So yeah, you've got a couple of options.
My guess is that Darius, while an excellent pilot, probably doesn't want to use his excellent piloting to be a tugboat captain.
I mean, I, as a pilot in a different game this week, said I'll race a railgun around. But that pilot knows better. He was just talking shit. I will defer to this pilot for this game and let him figure out what he wants to do with this ship.
I mean,
I think. Well, I'm having some IRL technical difficulties. I think Windows just bricked my hard drive.
Oops.
Oh dear. Well, we have you in the call on the phone at least, so we can continue if you like, or we can halt if you like. I leave
Well,
it up to you.
unless I can resolve this shortly, my focus is going to be trying to get my computer to work and not on.
Absolutely. I will leave that question to the player group. Do we want to pause X here and resume next week? I'm okay with that. I realize this is short and people are like, what the hell's going on? But we all know my personal feelings. Tech and personal problems always have priority over the show, so.
Yeah, bricking computers sounds like something that needs to be resolved. So
Well, so
We'd
for some
rather.
reason, I was on the table. My computer was running just fine,
Yeah, I saw that.
and but it wasn't recognizing my headset, and so normally that's resolved through a restart. Well, when I did a restart, I got an inaccessible boot device.
oh,
I don't know what that means, but that sounds bad.
It means that for
Means
some
that-
whatever reason he didn't recognize his hard drive.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really fucking bad. So, yeah.
I'd check your cable management first. And,
I have very good cable management, but I'm going to check it here in a minute.
All right, well, here's what we're going to do.
I suspect it tried to start installing a Windows update when I restarted, and there's not that much room on my solid state.
So you may have to do last safe boot and then do some other
I'm not even
stuff.
getting that option right now.
Ooh, yuck.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and wrap the session here. We're not in a horrible spot to stop. We're kind of in a make a decision transition point, so it's fine. Insofar as the story goes. Viewers, I'm sorry. We got a short episode this week. Things happen. I think we all understand how things can disrupt our day to day, and we just do what we can and we roll on. So while Rev begins to troubleshoot things, let me just start with Rev. Any sort of, if you don't have anything, you don't have anything, but any sort of feedback, outro, comment you'd like to leave here before you dive into the back end of your computer and try to resolve things?
No, but since there are other computers in the house, as far as like googling things, but if anyone feels technically adept enough to hang around on Discord, I could always use the feedback.
Unfortunately, I personally am not capable of such things. I'm a dumb guy. I really am. I know how to break things far better than I know how to fix it, which is sad because that's the second time I said that today. The first time was to my doctor. So, however, if there's anybody
That's
that
not
wants
a
to
good
help,
thing, Omar.
yeah. Well, if anybody's better at computers than us, please hang out in the Discord with Rev and maybe give him some pointers or tips or something to keep him from losing any of his important stuff there. Darius, any feedback outro stuff? Again, it was a very abbreviated episode tonight, but want to give everybody at least a chance to say something.
No. No, I don't think we covered enough for me to have anything.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
We had one almost warp encounter that we avoided, and then we're here, and then things kind of fell apart. It happens.
Yeah.
Alturios, you got anything you want to throw in there?
Thank you for letting us know there's nothing really on that planet like critical.
Yeah.
As a DM, I have watched players go down a rabbit hole of a side thing that I never wanted them to look
Yeah.
at, just because I was a little mysterious about explaining something, and
I
it's just like,
wanted to give you guys the choice of checking it out, but it was absolutely not important if you
Yeah.
chose not to do it. It would have been, a TTRPG version of a filler episode had you, but it would have been a good
Mhm.
thing to do. Like, it'd been kind of cool to check it out, I think. And it's always there in case you decide to go back that way to be like, I wonder what that side quest that we totally dodged was all about.
Okay.
But yeah,
Totally
no,
do
I
that
don't
later.
like. I also hate as a GM and sometimes even as a player when you're like, "Wow, so you mean this entire tangent that we went on had absolutely nothing to do with anything else that we're doing here?" And
I
you
didn't
let us
realize we were
do
playing a
that. And you
Bethesda
let us
game.
do that. Okay. As a GM, it's even more irritating because you're just like, "Okay, guys, come on, you did this. You're just making me make more shit that I didn't need to make in the first place." And that's why that was part of the reason why I told you that. But I wanted, again, I personally always believe leave the ball on the other side of the court. Let the other
Mhm.
person figure out what they're going to do, and then you can respond as you feel appropriate at that time, as opposed to forcing the other person's hand. Although in a way you're kind of forcing them to do something. Anyway, I left the choice up to you guys, and we made a choice, and it was a choice I'm totally good with, one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's all about the journey we make, right?
Yeah.
Warner, again, short episode. What do you got to throw into the pile, though?
Yeah, I'm gonna echo the thanks for letting us know what kind of option the option was. That's good to
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
as a player, and I do think that at some point we might come back, but
Mhm.
our characters had reason to believe that the Achelos thing was kind of
Was far more important.
urgent. So I feel like it makes sense for the characters to just be like, and moving on along.
Yep.
Mhm.
I think it's definitely one of those where in the dialogue options, as you're making your way through the initial quest giver speech, it comes up, would you like to accept optional? Versus, would you like to accept you don't have a choice?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like it's something that's there. It's not at all important to anything else, but it is something cool to check out. Well, I think it's cool because I wrote it, so obviously I'm gonna think it's cool. But at any rate, Let's get out of here so Rev can go do some triage on his computer, which, having recently triaged my own computer.
Me too, actually.
Yeah, you did too. I'm detecting a trend here. Hold on. Who's next after Rev?
You guys get away from me. I don't need this.
You don't put that evil on me. I'll tell you that.
All right, my friends, we are out of here. Apologies for a rather short episode. Again, real life and tech related issues always take priority. We want to be able to provide you guys with something as opposed to have people that are distracted throughout the entire series or entire session. So erring on the side of caution, but let's go ahead and wrap it here and let people do what they got to do, and we'll come back next week, assuming all continues to be good like it usually is. That said, stay safe out there, my friends. This world is a grim, dark world, so make sure you're doing what you got to do to take care of you and yours. And as for me and mine, we're out of here. We'll see you next time. And if you know anything
See
about
ya.
computers, join us in the Discord.